At Laing+Simmons Projects, we understand as an investor, you have a lot of different options available to you when deciding where to invest your money. At Projects, we're in the business of selling off-the-plan property, so we thought we'd give you just a few of our thoughts around things you should be considering before making any decisions. So some of the things you should be considering when buying off the plan, first and foremost is what property type is right for you. Is it a unit? Is it a townhouse? Is it a house and land package? Each one of these will have their own pros and cons, and they should all be considered before making a decision. Once you've decided the property type that you think is right for you, the next is how many bedrooms do you want? Your price range obviously will usually dictate which of these will be actually accessible for you. Once you've got a location and you've picked a property type, then of course location is next. Is the property in a growth centre? And a growth centre is an area that's identified as having a lot of new infrastructure spend, whether it's roads or it might be schools, it could be health. These are things that obviously impact the growth potential of any given area and should be considered before making a decision. So one of the benefits you get from buying an off-the-plan property in terms of the financial benefits is that you get to have a depreciation schedule that essentially allows you to make some tax concessions over the forward 10 years that you don't usually get with an existing property, or not as much. So generally speaking, the things you should be looking for as an investor when deciding what property is right for you is, will it be appealing to a potential tenant? Traditionally speaking, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments generally rent better than their 3-bedroom equivalents. And that's because you generally find that renters tend to be in that end of the market, more so than in the 3-bedroom market, where you might find families who traditionally speaking would prefer to live in their own property. You might find that in the 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom markets that the yields are better for you, meaning the returns that you get over the time actually add up to a better return on your investment. So some of the things you should be looking for in the contract specifically when buying off the plan, because it does differ from established property. In particular, some of the items are what is the sunset clause in the contract? And a sunset clause is essentially a period of time that the developer has to deliver the project to you. When you buy an existing property, it's obviously already built, it's there, and usually the settlement period is between 6 and 12 weeks. With an off-the-plan property purchase, that period is delayed because of the construction restraints on the property. One of the other things you should be looking at inside the contract is the variation clause. The variation clause essentially is in the contract so that the developer, if need be, has the capacity to make a small variation, usually no greater than 5%, in the event that they need to. And that change will usually be inside the floor area, and it should be highlighted in your contract. If it's any larger than that, then you should have a discussion with the developer and definitely speak to your legal representative. Let's assume that you've found a property that you're interested in, you like the apartment type, you like the development. The next thing to do is to research the team behind it. The builder in particular will probably be one of the most defining factors of whether or not the project is a success or not. So look into the reputation of the builder. Have they done previous works in the area? Is there something you can go and have a look at to see what the quality of work is over time? Have they done projects of a similar size before, or is this their first time? This, and in turn with also the developer's reputation, will go a long way to giving you some sense of security when making your decision. So some of the differences in buying an off-the-plan property is that your finance is not required as early as when you might need it if you're buying established property. So traditionally speaking, a developer will ask for 10% when you put down any deposit to form the purchase of the contract, but you will have a period of time to actually get your finance in order. As an investor, obviously it's important that you go and check with your broker or your financier prior to making any of these decisions. In particular, there might be some implications with regards to things like positive gearing or negative gearing the property, and of course the best people to talk to about this is your accountant and getting their advice to make sure that you're making the right decision with your investment. The key points to take away when making any of your decisions is make sure that you have the right property type picked for you, you have the right location picked for you, you've gone about all your checks and balances in terms of making sure that the development is in a location that will be desirable to a potential tenant, that you also have all of your finance arrangements in order prior to making the decision, and that you're actually making the best financial decision you can for your personal circumstances.